Okay, so the third verse today. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam shrutishirat pakshas samashriyatam dustarkat suviramyatam shrutimatastarko nusandhiyatam brahmasmiti vibhavyatam aharahar garvav parityajyatam देहेऽहं मतिरुज्यतां बुधजनैर्वादः परित्यज्यताम्. Okay. So what is Adi Shankara trying to convey here? So he's trying to say Vakyarthascha vicharyatam. You start with looking at the word meaning. Vakyartha. Those who have taken to Sanskritam, you would know that there are three kinds of meanings of a word usually referred to. One is the Vakyartha, the second is the Vyutpatti Artha, and the third one is called as Lakshyartha. Vakyartha means the direct word meaning. So I go to the dictionary, I look up the meaning, and I know the meaning of the word. Or the transactional meaning, whatever is the word meaning. Then there is a Vyutpatti Artha. Vyutpatti Artha means there is a deeper meaning, or rather a etymological meaning based on the dhatu, the word's dhatu. What the word means at the root level, which means what does the root of the word mean, and hence that meaning applies to the word. Third meaning is lakshyartha, what it is intending. Because words are only carriers of meaning. Words don't have any other purpose. Otherwise, they are just sounds. What is the difference between a sound of ah and a word when I'm calling somebody as Ashok? When I'm using a name to call someone, there is a response from that person because that word has some reference. Right? This is important to know when a sound is just a sound and a sound has a transactional meaning. So sounds have transactional meaning, sounds have psychological meaning, impact, and sounds have Gudhartha or Lakshyartha, which means it points to something which is much more deeper, much more fundamental. Like the sound of Om. What is the meaning of Om? There is no meaning really that way. So there are Bijaksharas which don't have meaning at all. Those sounds just have an existential or a fundamental impact because they exist. That sounds exist in a certain way. So here, Vakyartha means you take a name. So let's take the name of Gopal. If you take Gopala as a name, if you say Gopala, then somebody whose name is Gopala will turn around and see. So Vakyartha. So the word meaning is the name of the person. Or we'll say, what is the meaning of the word? Oh, it is Krishna's name. Then you look at the etymological meaning or the Vyutpatti Artha, which means what does Gopala stand for? So Gopala means one who herds the cow. Gopala. Gopalayati iti Gopalaha. So the one who takes care of cows is Gopala. Then you have the third which is the Gudhartha or the Lakshyartha, which means Gopala is the one who takes care of all beings. Not just cow is an indication. So you look at Krishna and you say Gopala, Govinda, Gopala means you are saying that, oh, protector or palaka of all beings, protect me. That's a Lakshyartha. So, like that, whenever we pick up any text, and which is what we keep doing, all we do in all our satsangs is essentially look at the Lakshyartha. What is intended behind the words that are being spoken? The intention is very important. The words are only a carrier. You need to remember this, because we a lot of times get stuck in the word itself. Some people may have great vocabulary, hence they may be able to use the right kind of words. Some people may not have that amount of vocabulary, so they use words and a combination of expressions and a combination of actions. But what is the whole idea is of communication? You're communicating an idea, you're communicating a concept, you're communicating a thought. So even the Shruti is communicating Shruti Shiraha in this case. So it says Vakyarthascha vicharyatam Shruti Shiraha Pakshas Samashriyata. So Shruti Shiraha, you can put it both left side and right side here. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam Shruti Shiraha. So think about vicharyatam, about the Vakyartha of the Upanishad. She can use the Shruti Shiraha. If the Shruti Shiraha word means Upanishad, then Vakyarthascha vicharyatam Shruti Shiraha. About the Upanishads, look at the meanings of them, the Vakyartha of the, think about it, process it. And then on the right side, you can also again use Shruti Shiraha Pakshas Samashriyatam. Take refuge in the Shruti Shiraha, which is Upanishad. Shruti Shiraha Pakshas Samashriyatam. Paksha means on the side of. On the side of the Upanishads, take refuge. So this particular line is, as we said last time, when we are talking about, we looked at Shravanam as a process in the previous verse, where he said, Shruti Shiro Vakya Samakarnyatam. Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Akarnyatam means to listen. Shravanam. Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Listen to the words of the Upanishad. And here he is saying Vakyarthascha vicharyatam Shruti Shira Pakshas Samashriyata. Now he is saying, now that you've heard, now you process it in your mind. Think about it. Think about it and keep processing it. So whatever we listen to in the satsang or any reading, any scriptures, any upanyasam we listen to, you have to process those ideas and those words and those concepts that have been communicated. Things that we are able to understand, we try to absorb it and we absorb it and we try to practice it. That which we are not able to understand, we let the idea stay. Because a lot of these ideas that are there in the Upanishadic statements are not contradicting in nature, nor are they giving you wrong information. Because there is only one intention of the Upanishad, is to point you to yourself. Everything else that is extraneous, that we feel is extraneous, I am not able to understand some parts. Why does it say like this and like this? Why is it conflicting? Taddure tatmantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasya bhahyatah. Ishavasya Upanishad says that. Taddure tadantike, it is so far, it is so near. Tad antarasya, it is inside of everything. Tadu sarvasya bahyatah. The kaingra conflicting arke. How is it possible? So if you're able to get your mind wrapped around the idea, great. Otherwise, keep it on one side. Don't worry. There is, as much as yesterday we spoke about Suratha and Samadhi in the Mahishasura Mardini Stotram. How if Samadhi becomes your purush, Purushartha, Samadhi is your Purushartha and you're wanting to get to that as quickly as possible, there will be an urgency. I want to understand this. I don't get it. I don't know what is being said. It's seeming conflicting. There is a conflict. You feel that conflict and you feel that I'm not able to understand. But let it not be an obstacle. A conflict and understanding is okay. Don't make it an obstacle in your sadhana. Correct? There are so many things in the world we don't understand. So many things are there in the world we don't understand. And we will never get to understand also. Know this. The greatest of the Mahatmas that we have heard of or known of or seen or been with or whatever, don't know everything. But the fact of the matter is they're okay with that they don't know everything. When we want to know something, we go into this urgency that if I don't know something, I may not be able to proceed. I find it as an obstacle. Not knowing something is not an obstacle. If I know that I don't know something, it's an opportunity. Use it as an opportunity to know it. Don't see it as an obstacle. Patya, enakidu puriyala. It's not the end of it. If you think it is value for you, pursue knowing it. Right? Don't make the process of knowing or the process of understanding or the mananam and the nididhyasanam, the process of understanding and absorbing and assimilating, don't make that process a very serious process. There is a difference between seriousness and urgency. This is something we need to know, that thin line between the two. You have to be urgent, like the merchant Samadhi. You want Samadhi, I want the deepest understanding. Yes, feel that urgency inside. But don't make life so serious that urgency starts making it very difficult for you to make progress. The urgency has to be inside as a burning fire, constantly burning. You don't have to show it outside. Nobody needs to know also. Within you, that urgency, yes, I want to be in a state of complete understanding. I want to be in this state of bliss and joy. And that needs to be seen as, how do you relate that with everything that you do? That urgency we continue to show, which means when I'm doing something, I don't want to waste a moment. I don't want to waste time. I have a little time. Let me do this japa. Let me do this dhyana. Let me pick up this book and read a half a page. Let me listen to somebody's talk. Let me do this. This is urgency. Not that this urgency should be continuously there. This urgency is something that keeps you active and engaged. When you're very serious, it becomes a burden. So don't make the process a burden. When somebody goes to the When do you ask somebody when serious or kalani eppo kepa? Only when they're hospitalized. Other times, why do you have to be serious? When somebody is hospitalized, you go and ask, are they serious? There's something seriously wrong with them. Other times, what is there? It's just life. You're living life. There are things happening, events happening, people coming, going. And there is this Greek figurine of Hercules who's carrying this earth, big globe. Those who have seen that, you'll see his neck is bent and he's carrying the whole earth on his back. And the myth about it is that he is waiting for the next person to pick that up so that he can release. You go and somebody went and asked Hercules, why are you carrying the earth? I said, what do I do? Where do I keep it? Somebody's got to pick it up. Only then I can leave it. And people will come around and say, okay, Sherry, niye vechuko. Nobody's wanting to come and pick up your burden of what you're carrying. Nobody is interested. Why should you carry? Very short life. Very short life to carry all that burden with so much seriousness. Because spiritual understanding only comes because what you're seeking is joy. You can't be serious, and suddenly you'll have enlightenment, which is joy. That will not happen. Correct? You can't keep growing a bitter gourd tree and suddenly expect a mango at the end of it. And then get upset and say, why, I like mango. So much effort I put. But the seed what you put was a bitter gourd. I'm not saying bitter gourd is bad in any way. I'm just saying it is different, right? Your expectation is something else, output is something else, because what you've seeded in is what will ripe out. This is something we don't recognize. We have to invest into the right thing. So what he's saying is vicharyatam. Think about the vakyartha. Vakyartha in this case, the reason he's saying vakyartha is he's saying now first you have akarnyatam. You have heard it, akarnyatam. Shruti Shiro Vakyam Akarnyatam, you've heard it. Now, Vicharyatam, think about it. Vakyartha, think about the word meaning. Think about the intended meaning. Think about it. Process it. And then, Pakshas Samashriyatam. Shruti Shiroho Pakshas Samashriyatam. So take refuge in the Upanishads. If you start looking at some of the Upanishads and you start looking at the Upanishads and some scriptures or whatever, it could be Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, whichever one that touches your heart, look at that text as your mother and start finding solace in it. This is my personal experience. When you start associating with this text as a very personal, or the engagement you have as a personal endearing affair with the text, each one will have some text or scripture that we will associate with in a very dear way. Think of that as your mother and always find refuge. Whatever problems you come across, whatever obstacles you come across, our mind is filled with a lot of doubts and anxieties and distress and problems and all that. Go into silence, pick up that text and go through it. Be it the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, any Upanishad, there are so many Upanishads out there. 10 Upanishads is what we popularly know as, but there are so many more minor Upanishads that are there, meanings are there. So if you see the Upanishad itself, Shruti Mata, she's called as Shruti Mata. Right? Vedas are, or the Upanishads are called as Shruti Mata, the mother. So you can go pick that up, read a few Vakyas, be with it for a little while. Or the Bhagavatam, if you feel like want to read the Bhagavatam. Any such text. Keep it in one place where it's easily accessible. And whenever you find some kind of distress, go back to it, pick up some random page, read a little bit about it, stay with the book, stay with the scripture. If you develop this attitude with the scripture, with the text, then it starts giving you solace, that ashriyatam. It gives you the ashraya. It gives you that ashraya. Ashraya. Shrama is to struggle. Ashrama is to rest. Ashraya is refuge. So if you find refuge in the texts, in such texts and works, you find ashraya, you will find ashrama. When you go take ashraya, you will find ashrama. When you go find refuge in such works, slowly, it's something that one has to develop consciously. You develop that relationship with the works. And then you will feel like when you don't want to be disturbed by anything, you will feel like, I just want to pick this up and read. You may have read it 101 times. You may have read it several times. But these vakyas or these verses that are there, these only point to that truth. These are all in the same direction. So when you're feeling something like that, low or depressive thoughts and all, go pick that up, sit with it. And in your mind, tell, oh mother, I have come to you. What does a child do when the child is feeling very low, very disturbed or anxious or whatever? It goes and finds the lap of the mother, right? Find the lap of the mother. This is what I used to do when I was small. And then I found the Upanishads. It's the same feeling you can get. You are going lying in the lap of the mother, and she's giving you solace. So this is for us to practice, and we can find that joy and ashraya in the scriptures. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam shruti shiraf pakshas samashriyatam dustarkat suviramyatam. So as you take samashrayam, which means you are taking ashraya in the scriptures, you give a stoppage to dustarka. Dustarka is tarka, tarka means argument. Dustarka is the wrong kind of argument. The argument that is not conducive for anyone. There are three kinds of debates. Right? There is a difference between a debate and a Vedanta Vadam. There are three kinds of debates. Tarka also means debating. But there are good debates and there are dustarkas. One kind of debate is called Vitanda. There are Vada. Tarka also is known as Vada. Vada means you are in a debate. So one kind of Tarka or Vada is called just Vada, where both people are wanting to know. So you are in a Vada, which is called Vadi Prativadi. Most of the commentaries are always referred to as there is a Vadi and there is a Prativadi. There's somebody who's saying something and somebody else is responding and trying to say, no, maybe you look at it this way. No, your interpretation is. probably not accurate. Maybe you interpret it this way. And then the other person will say, oh, okay, interesting, maybe so. But what about this? And then he'll go like that. So this is Vadi Prativadi. Both are willing to know, which is why in those times, if you see all these debates would happen, the winner, the one who loses in the argument, will take refuge or will surrender or he'll give in to the Prativadi. He'll not fight with the Prativadi. He'll say, oh, this is an absolutely wonderful way of interpreting. I'd like to listen more. So then the Vadi, who was actually, this happened to Mandana Mishra, the popular story of Mandana Mishra and Adi Shankara. Mandana Mishra was a great, astute scholar. And that debate happened for 3 days. At the end of it, Mandana Mishra said, Ninga vera level, sir. Whatever ideas I've given, your interpretation is extremely very radical. So now I take refuge in you. I come to you. I want to learn more from you. Same thing, Prativadi Bhayankaram Anna. Those who remember, we did in Venkateshwara Suprabhatam. Prativadi Bhayankaram Anna, his name was Prativadi Bhayankaram because he was a very for those opponents who would sit in a debate, the Prativadi, he appeared to be a Bhayankaram. Prativadi Bhayankaram Anna. Hastagiri Anna. His original name was Hastagiri Anna. He was called as Prativadi Bhayankaram Anna. So, but there, as he won over these Prativadis, they will come and seek understanding from him. They'll say that, oh, what you explained was so beautiful. We'd like to hear more. So that is Vada. Then there is Jalpa. So Jalpa is, both are just Jalpa na Valarudunu Chulva. Japo Jalpa Shilpam Sakalamapi Mudra Virachana. Saundarya Lahari. There is a verse 27. Japo Jalpa Shilpam. So there Shankaracharya is saying, oh mother, take whatever blabbering I'm doing, you take it as my mantra chanting to you, my worship to you. Japo Jalpa Shilpam. Vetti Kadai. Vetti Kadai is Jalpa, right? Correct. A lot of times when there is not much content, gossiping can be considered as Jalpa, or generally just talking, just because some people find difficulty in being silent. Silence bothers them. It is a serious problem. When silence bothers you, then it's time to look at where the issue is. We should practice being in silence. Otherwise, anyways, there is Jalpa happening in your mind. Correct? Whether we want it or not, even if you control your mouth by staying silent, there is Jalpa that is happening here constantly. This Jalpa is also something that we need to be aware of. It's like somebody has a very bad stomach and there's dysentery just flowing. So it's like that, right? Here is just flowing. You have no control. So that kind of Jalpa that keeps happening, a lot of people are not able to keep it here also. This Jalpa translates to this Jalpa also, verbal Jalpa. Keep on, just because something has to be spoken. This is Jalpa. The third one is Vitanda. Kalpaka mentioned Vitanda Vadam. Vitandavadam is where you are just trying to damage the other person's view. You may have a view or not. Whatever you say, I am going to prove you wrong. Vitandavadam. With such people, it's very difficult to engage in a conversation because there is no real curiosity. There is no real need to learn or understand or explore. See, I'm not saying that somebody who's speaking only is the person who's knowledgeable. A lot of times, a lot of people who are listening may be more knowledgeable than the person who's speaking. Only the speaker doesn't have to be necessarily knowledgeable. It just so happens that the speaker has some understanding and probably is able to articulate it into words and present it in a certain way. Right? So that also need to be understood is that when somebody is silent, it doesn't mean that that person doesn't understand. So it's not necessary to also try to be one up. It is not required to always attempt to be one up in a conversation. So this leads to what, Vitanda, where you try to, your intention is not to explore. If someone is truly wanting to explore, then the conversation will be very different. The nature of conversation will be very different. It will be like a vada, where you're trying to explore. But here, if you're only trying to jump over the other, or try to show him, prove him false, that is all my intention is. Whatever you say, I can keep, and you can, anybody can do this. Anybody can do to anybody. Even to a greatest Swami Vivekananda, through Vitandavadam, you can, you can feel like Madakitene, I've cornered him. You can do that to anybody. But what do we gain at the end of it is what requires introspection. So he says here, Dustarkatsu viramyatam. Suviramyatam. Dustarkat suviramyatam. Take a break. Viramyatam means stop it. Take a break and stop Dustarka. Shruti matas tarkonu sandhiyatam. Follow what has been said in the Shruti. Whatever tarka has been used in the Shruti, use that. Use that as your guide, your yardstick. Don't create your own tarka and get locked in it. There is enough tarka that has been presented in the Shruti, in the Upanishadic commentaries and all that. Use that. But that is also a problem. We got to be careful because a lot of times because there are many different commentators, we try to use one commentator's commentary against another. We shouldn't fall into that. Also create your own understanding. Because at the end of the day, all these scriptures and books and commentaries, whatever is there, people have written and gone. What matters to you is at the end of the day, your life, your meaning, your understanding, your truth. So create that. Establish in that. Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam aharahar garvav parityajyatam. Brahma asmi iti. I am Brahman, or I am not different from Brahman. Aharahar, think of this day and night. Vibhavyatam aharahar, through all the days. Aharahar, ahaha means a day. Aharahar, think through it. Keep thinking the same idea. Have that idea that I am not different than that Supreme. Brahmasmi, Brahmaha asmi. Iti vibhavyatam aharahar garvav parityajyatam. When we constantly think and associate ourselves with that greater identity, what goes off? Garva. Garva parityajyatam. Renounce. You don't have to actively go looking at renouncing garva or pride. When we associate ourselves with the higher, naturally the lower drops off. Right? So Brahma Asmi iti vibhavyatam aharahar. Day and day, in day, through all days, day to day to day, every day. Garvav parityajyatam. Deheham matirudhyatam. So when you associate yourself with the higher, Brahma Asmi iti, then Deheham, I am the Deha, I am the body, Mati Rujyatam. That will also drop. Renounce that idea also. The concept that I am the body. Drop the conception that I am the body, because you are now associating yourself with I am not just this body. I am, either you think that I am Brahman, but that's an extremely abstract thought. So you could say, I am a part of this Narayana. I am part of Shiva. I am part of Devi. I am the same spark. I am a smaller identity of a larger cosmic being. So expand your identity. We expand our identity, but again, still we keep it limited. We say, I am a Brahmin. I am a Hindu. We expand from I to the community, to the society. We expand it that way. But again, that's also restrictive. Because then you say, I am a Hindu, suddenly all the Muslims are out of it. And the Christians are out. You say, I am a Brahmin, suddenly all the other castes are out of it. When you say, I am an Indian, again, other nationalities are out of it. Right? So, the largest identity is I am Brahman. I am part of the Supreme Brahman. I am part of this Purusha. So when we expand our consciousness and identity with the larger, the smaller identity becomes less in its impact. The impact of that smaller identity, both will be there, like the Mundaka Upanishad, the two birds, the two bird example in the Mundaka Upanishad, I had explained once. When the smaller identity keeps looking at the larger one, the impact of the smaller reduces within us. Deham matirujyatam buddhajanair vadav parityajyatam. With those you consider as wise, or those you consider as people who have known, who have some understanding, stop arguing, because you are not only draining their energy, you are also not getting anything out of it. Right? Because understand, your intention in having a conversation with anybody is, what am I learning from this conversation, or what am I contributing, what am I sharing? Only two reasons you have a conversation with somebody, or you have it for entertainment. But if you're trying to have a meaningful conversation, either you're sharing some wisdom or you're receiving some wisdom. So when you're doing that, and if you consider somebody, okay, in that area, this person knows it, stop arguing. Right? Like Kalpaka understood it, start of the class itself. She's going to come back to us with the audio recording this week. So, Buddha Janair Vadav Parityajyatam Vakyarthascha Vicharyatam Shrutishirat Pakshas Samashriyyatam Dustarkat Suviramyatam Shrutimatastarko Nusandhiyatam Brahmasmiti Vibhavyatam Aharahar Garvav Parityajyatam Deheham Matirujyatam Buddhajanair Vadav Parityajyatam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि सदाशिवायेति समर्पयामि जगदम्बिकायेति समर्पयामि, सद्गुरुनाथायेति समर्पयामि। हरि ओम तत्सत् गुरुभ्यो नमः। Gurudeva. Kalpaka, you are going to record, right, this week?
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om Guruji.
Kalpaka acknowledges, he recorded.
Thank you, Ji.
Ji, to Sadhana Panchakam.
Oh, in that time I will
very good. Very good, Kalpaka.
Hari Om Ji.
Yes, Hari Om. Namaskaram.